Alright everybody, I'm back. um, Cheers for tuning back in and thanks for all the people that are all subscribing. Like, they've been going up like every day, like since I went on Big Ricky's channel. So give Big Ricky a shout out as well. And on my other video, the last video that I did, right, I was mentioning how when I was in Castle Huntly I was being treated like a high risk inmate, right? And I didn't really go into that, and I haven't mentioned why in any videos because I was kinda wanting people to kinda not get to know me as such, but to kinda see that I'm compos mentis because the thing that I didn't mention was so if any of you have watched Big Ricky's channel, when I did the podcast with him, I mentioned how when I was in the young offenders, I was acting completely volatile, irrational, um, threatened a staff member with boiling water. Um, so all this culminated in me being sent to Carstairs State Hospital 1 week before my 18th birthday. And I remember the exact date. It was Friday the 23rd of June 2000, so my birthday's 30th of June, right? Might sound a bit like what the fuck, but um, I was doing and saying the craziest of things, man. I remember when I was in Pullman, my kind of summons to see the shrink was getting more frequent because I was just doing and saying all these crazy things. Like I was saying things like I think a lot it was for attention, right? But don't get me wrong, there was certain staff members at the time, especially the guy I flung the boiling water at that time, like I was still a young boy, not I mean I was 17, you know what I mean, 18. Back then, if it was within my means to kinda do something to that guy and no get caught or no go to prison, then I was stupid enough to take that chance. And I was saying daft things to the the shrink, like I was having kind of dreams about hurting him and saying crazy stuff, right? So this ended up kind of ending with me being sent to the state hospital for an assessment. So back then, this was before G4S and all that were doing escorts, prisoner escorts. So back then it was the SPS had to do the escorts, Scottish Prison Service. So there was three prison officers, a nurse, and a screw driving the van, right? And I remember on the way there, see that Coldplay song Yellow? That just reminds me of that whole day because that was playing on the prison van radio. And I'm not gonna lie, I was I wasn't worried or bothered, like which I think is kinda an indication of the state I was in, right? Because if I get told I was going there, then right, I'm 41 and I've been round the block a few times, I'd probably need a kit change, do you know what I mean? Metaphorically speaking, of course. But back then I was a completely different person. And I dare say everybody was when they're 18 compared to when they're in their 40s, right? But as I said in Ricky's right channel and that, I says I was just out to make a name, reputation, um, at all costs basically. And one of the one of the kind of things about going there was this was a total different ball game for being in a prison where your day's all structured and all this shit, and then you go in here, everybody just sitting round. It's like a bit. It's called the day room. There's like a wee corner of guys all sitting over here. There's people all sitting over here watching. There's this guy who used to sit and watch Wimbledon every day, and so there was Wimbledon and then the Euro 2000 football championships. And I can't mind what one was on first, or if they were on at the same time, because we're going back a long time, know what I mean? And I remember, like, when I went in, like, there was a couple of guys for Postal there, right? One of them was in for, I think he'd flung 2 or 3 people in the Clyde and off them. They were pan breed, right? There was another guy for Postal, don't know what he was there for, but kind of got talking to him. He was only a wee bit older than me. But it was just totally different. Let's see the TV. It was so in prison, right? See when you go in the TV room, in the rec room, you could, like, if you wanted to smash that telly, you could do it, right? But see this telly, it was inside a wooden box with like a glass screen, perspex screen on the front of it. So like the telly was inside a box, and I think that's because there's a lot of guys in here who are saying things like, because one of the questions I get asked, do you hear voices? Do you hear voices coming out the telly, coming out the radio and all that, right? Bonkers, right? But see, on the first day, my first day there, right? I've walked in the ward, right? So there's Lomond ward, which is the admission ward. That's the assessment ward. That's where I was. There's Annan ward, Cromarty ward, Solway, Clyde, Forth, and a couple other ones, right, that I can't remember. It was just like a wee village with a big fence on it. It was just weird, man. Like the canteen was different. In fact, there was a women's ward. It was called Alexandra ward, right? So that was another one. That was just all females. And I remember I'm sitting there talking to these guys, right? So I went there for Pullman, right? And then see when when I was sitting talking to him, another Scottish prison, see Scottish prison cells used to have these blue minibuses and it say SPS on it. One of them's pulled up outside the ward, right, and this guy's got out, man. He's had a big growth and all, and I'm like, no, man, it was just, it was a boy I was in Carlaw with, right, and in Pullman the year before. Boy for Postal, don't, I'm not going to say his name obviously, but he's a good boy, and I don't know where he is now. But aye, bonkers, man. But he get transferred from understand. I think he either got transferred for Berlin or Stob Hill Hospital. I don't know, right? And like, how you doing? What's happening? Where you been? Fucking blah blah blah. But he ended up. He went back wherever he came or he got out. I don't know, right? There was then this other boy coming, right, for Ayrshire. Call him Roddy, right? Big tall boy, skinny. He was into like self harming, and like I'd seen all the marks on him. Like, Jesus Christ, I'd never seen any sort of kind of self harming stuff like this before. It was quite severe. Do you know what I mean? So we're sitting one day and this guy comes in, right, and he was for Sweden, and like there was a guy, one of the guys for Postal says to me, don't talk to him, he's a nonce. Turns out he was in for what we say is a sticky tape. Now, hinky with crime, that rhymes with, right, sticky tape. So it's rhyming slang for a certain offence. So nobody would speak to this guy, right? Like, he would sit in the corner and cry, and he would pace up and down, and he would talk to his cell, and he'd be doing all these mannerisms, like as if he's having a full scale conversation with his cell. Nobody would speak to him or nothing, right? And then what we had been told was he had done a sticky tape on a woman, tried to flee on a plane from Scotland to Denmark, got nicked at the airport, blah blah blah, right? So he's been put in the puzzle factory with us, right? And his trial started, right? And all of a sudden, I think he was, for what I heard, he was actually for a well-to-do family. His family's might have had a bit of that, right? But I don't know, right? I'm just going with like fucking somebody told me. And see, when his trial started, he's coming back for court acting all boisterous and how do I put it? Self-confident, because he's went from one extreme to the other. Like 1 minute he's sitting crying in the corner, walking up and down, talking to his cell, no engaging with him. They know that MD wanted to engage with him. Some staff would engage with him, right? And he's acting like a bit of a boy, basically. Now I'm 18-year-old, right? I've just turned 18. I had my 18th birthday in Carstairs, right? Mad. And he's come back for the court and he's acting this way, and I'm like, the more he was acting like that, the angrier I was getting, right? I don't know if I thought, who the fuck do you think he is strutting about here like this? And I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't have needed an excuse to bust him, know what I mean? Just hearing what he was in for would have been enough. So he's walked up, we were all sitting in a room one day, right? And he's walked in, so it was like, there was like a smoker's room in there. It was just like a room with couches and sofas in it, and people would go in there to smoke, right? And he walked in, sat down. There was only me and another guy in there, and he's walked in, sat down, and said to the guy, see, if you stole a motor in Sweden and you get 4 years for it, and then you went to Scotland and stole a motor, would you get the same sentence? And I'm like, that straight away. He's done this before, right? But he's substituting the sticky tape for the car theft, which is obviously more socially acceptable in our circles. And I'm just like, he's done this before. And then I can't mind if it was a corner. A member of staff told me that his mate I said to somebody he'd done a sticky tape in Sweden, but it was on a guy, right? And I'm like, fucking hell. So I says to this big Roddy, we're busting him. But he wasn't really, I don't know if he's what I do or no, but he says he was not, he was the same age as me, or a year older or something, right? We looked like Scooby and Scrappy. He was a big tall thing, skinny thing, and I was probably a wee stocky thing, right? In comparison to him, obviously. So we're sitting there, right? And I'm kind of having wee fly digs every time he walks past, like saying making wee comments, not trying to get a bite of him. Don't know if it was picking up on it or no. And one day me and that Roddy were sitting up the back of the ward, right, and they walked past. And that Roddy said something to him, pure cheeky, right? And he walked out, and I swear to God, right, know what he says, he done that. I'll peel the skin from your body, that's what he says, right? And I'm not gonna lie, my blood ran fucking cold the way he said this. Like, I just had a mad image of Buffalo Bill or something, like where he's actually fair, like as if I'm quite a like stoic person, like I'm not usually easily rattled, but something the way he said that just touched something. I just thought he sounds like he's a fucking pure preg editor. As if he'd done similar things before, I don't know, right? So I'm like, ah, man, we need to give him it, So they're sitting playing bingo, right? And so I'm playing pool with that big Roddy, and then, but see the thing is, right, see everywhere you're in here, you're watched. It's not like in the tin pail you go to the shower, and you're left alone for 10 minutes not seeing here, there's members of staff everywhere watching your every move. They're writing down who your mail's for. They keep a log of your letters, see, in there before you get your mail. They read it and then give you it. They write down who it's for, what it's about, and they keep it in a ring binder folder. You know how I know that? Because I've seen it with my own eyes, right? Just the level of scrutiny is unreal. Maybe it's not like that in the other bits of the pitch, but the bit I was in was like that. So on one side of the ward there's 4 rooms, but they're separate. It's all glass, like panes, no actual glass, but like perspex, so you can see through. There's no room here you can't see into, and you can see they've got a full view of everything that's going on, right? So I'm just looking and I'm just getting more pissed off because I can't get my chance to go and do something to this nutter. And then that big Roddy's went into the smokers room. They were all playing bingo. What the staff used to do was buy up punners of like sweeties and bottles of ginger and then play bingo, and you would win all this stuff, right? And I'm doing that to that Roddy. Fucking hurry up, moan. Like, we're going to bash him. He's like, oh, don't, I'm winning or something. And I was just getting more pissed off, man. I'm like, you gotta fuck this chance and we're not gonna get another one. And then the bingos ended up finishing, innit? And the staff were all like in the office or something, and I've seen that Patrick go in the smoker room. There was only one other guy in there. And I'm like, here we go. Like, when you walked in and that big Roddy's done that. Yeah, like I walked in that, yeah, what you fucking saying now, you fucking Cadbury's feast? That big Kingley's just hooked him, right? And have see a coffee table, man. I've just lifted up a coffee table. Just went boff, just brought it crashing down on his nut. And then twos have just started pure laying into him, right? And then next thing, man, hundreds of nurses have come in. Now some of them are big boys, man, like right big boys, right? And it's all carpeted in there, but they've had us in the wrist locks on the flares. We've rugby tackled the twos, right? And they've had us pinned on the flare like these wrist locks. If you've ever heard them, man, you know what I'm talking about. They're sore. If they put the pressure on, it's sore. If they're just holding you, it's manageable, know what I mean? But this was probably the worst cart I've ever had. The worst cart I've had, without a shadow of a doubt. So they've hit the bell, right? And all the other staff have came running and they've separated me and him. But see, the thing is, right? See, before they separated us, they've had the toys pinned down on the flare and it's all carpeted in here, right? And I swear to God, man, I had a carpet burn that size on my face for getting rugby tackled along the flare, right? But see, when there was, they were holding me down, right? So my face is pinned, squashed into the flare, and there's this big massive screw. He's got his knee in the back of my neck or something, right? And they're holding me like that. And see, as I'm turning my head, I can see that big Roddy with his face squashed in the flare, and he's going, "Hoo!" He was screaming like a woman, right? So I was trying to laugh and scream at the same time, and it was just a horrible feeling, man. Like, I don't know how to describe it. See, try to do 2 opposite things at once. There was just something not right about that. Um, they've removed us to 2 separate isolation cells, right? And I can still hear him screaming, man. But I was kind of getting in and out of it. Like, I wasn't doing it the whole time. He just sounded like he was screaming the whole time, right? They've kicked my shoes off us and all that. Obviously in case they thought I was going to try and kick them, I don't know, right? But when they were holding us like, right, normally, so what happens in the prison system, in Scottish prisons anyway, see when they put the locks on you and they take you to the segregation unit, normally what they'll do is they'll put you down on the flare in what's called the strong cell, and it's basically a concrete cell with no window, no furniture, no nothing. There's nothing in it. Maybe an extractor fan. That's it. Put you down the flare and then remove yourself out the room and you're in there bollock naked. But see, in this pit's not they were doing, right? See, after a while, obviously it would stop the circulation. They were doing this and rotating my wrist so that the blood would still flow, so as I would still feel it. Scumbags, man. And then they finished it off with a liquid cosh, man, a syringe full of super strength Legato, whatever it was. Stabbed us with it, man. Next thing I know, I'm getting carried, physically carried back to my cell. And I just remember like getting in and out of like dreams, mad dreams. I was fully clothed, like I was just lying there like that. And the next day they've all come in, they're all pure questioning us and what was that for? Was it his offence with hearing things and all that shit? I was like, no, it was just cause of what he's in for and all that. But I couldn't write letters for about 2 weeks after that, right? Because see, I tried to write a letter, right, but see the way my writing looked, it looked like a child writing with crayon because of how much they didn't miss us when they had us in the wrist locks. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't gonna get violent in there after that. Just unless I really, really, really had to. Like I wasn't just gonna do it on a whim. Do you know? No, just because of all that. Do you know what I mean? But when I get let out from my shower the next morning, I walked past a female manager and she was like, basically saying I was no a scumbag for doing that to him, but how I'm out of order and and I was looking at her like just like, do you know what he's in for? Do you know what I mean? Just like, he actually get away with it, but who's to say whether he done it or no, I don't know, but there was definitely something just dodgy about him, do you know what I mean? And the fact that he made the comment about stealing a motor in Sweden and then going to Scotland and stealing a motor, would you get the same sentence? To me, in my opinion, some of these people know what kind of people to target, because I think I read somewhere that they said that kind of charge is hard to prove and all this kind of shit, so they'll pick people who are who they know are kind of maybe checkered histories or whatever. But other than that, I got sent back to Pullman in September 2000 and got put in North Wing, Argyle Hall it was called. I was there for say maybe 4, 5, maybe 6 weeks, if that. I got on the 6th of October, Friday the 6th of October 2000, so it probably wasn't even 6 weeks, probably about 4. And I remember when I got out, I was up in the Rangers shop in East Kilbride, and I sees one of the PTIs for the whole Carstairs, right? Taps him on the shoulder, man, he's just turned around and looked at us as that, but it's happening in that, how did you get out, or when did you get out? He looked shocked, but obviously you kinda think like, if I worked in somewhere like that, I wouldn't want to be bumping into MD, but they did say there's nothing wrong with him, he's just playing up, do you know what I mean? But I was kinda two minds whether to kinda talk about being in there. I've never been in anywhere like that since or before that, but end of the day, if I'm got to be doing videos, not, you need to be kinda like just, do you know what I mean? Just being open, being frank about stuff, and because when you don't talk about it, it looks like you have got something to hide, do you know what I mean? So be as well just kind of getting it out there. But it was the funny thing is, I know, like I remember getting a copy of my previous convictions when I went for parole, and when I was doing that sentence, and you know, it was on my previous, like, being in there was on my previous, like, what's all that about, like, as if, like, they say, oh, there's no stigma, not arc, aye, right, whatever. We're all human, we all judge, I do it as well, do you know what I mean? I try not to, but I try and be objective most of the time, but sometimes old thinking patterns kick in and old kind of biases, whatever, but you need to try and filter them out, do you know what I mean? But, um, aye, that was an experience, man, being in that fucking place, the puzzle factory. um, so, he's no now. Just thought I was like, do you know what, I'll do that in another video tomorrow or something, but then I thought, do you know what, I've got stuff to do tomorrow, like I'm busy tomorrow with my kids' class and then my class, and I'm always kind of zooming about, so I just thought, do you know what, sitting about just watching telly, so thought I'd batter on and get out there. Hope you don't hold that against me, you know what I mean? So I'll leave yous for now, and hope yous are having a good night, and I hope you've had a good day and yous are all safe, well, and staying on the right side of the law, defence, whatever, do you know what I mean? Because you've only got one life, man. Use it and live it and be that guy that's doing the right thing. Think of what you've got to lose and all that shit. That's what I do. Do you know what I mean? So take care and over and out.